My name is Philip Humm, and I've lived at 107 Beeley Link at Chelm Village for over 20 years. That is less than 700 metres from the site. I'm a retired insurance claims manager, having been responsible in my time for the insurance response to major accidents and weather events, both personally and managing teams indemnifying, for example, events such as the Croydon tram crash 2016, Grenfell Tower 2017, and the severe flooding in Yorkshire, Storm Desmond 2019. I do support the custodians of the Chelm Valley Water Meadow because I'm a very keen angler who has fished and walked this part of the river since the 1980s, but I'm speaking now in my capacity as a resident. I first fished the river in 1981, before even Chelm Village was built, and I fished at Barnes Mill when it was owned by Peter Tuck, Chelsea football player, in the mid-1980s and onwards. I was there, for example, shortly after the October storms in 1987 to see the devastation. And I've seen the area in flood many times. I've walked, cycled or driven past the site most days in the last 20 years. I've a lot of experiences in this place. My objection to the proposal is on 4 grounds. 1. Flooding. The site floods with water. Simple. February 2014, when the horses were rescued, created a big news story locally, and you can find that on the BBC. The horses were up to their bellies in water on the site. Number 2, traffic. The rush hour can be incredibly busy, but it is from the end of November until after the January sales when the retail site causes utter gridlock, often in every direction, right over the main river bridge and right back up the Chelm Road to the Toby Carberry. Number 3, the wildlife. My fishing on the meadows is often late in the evening. The barn owl quarters the meadows by the proposed development. There are kestrels, hawks, bats. I've seen an otter further upstream, and found an otter spring in the meadow just yards from the proposed development site. That was actually yesterday afternoon. I think I saw you, sir, on the meadow. Number 4, lack of consultation. Why, as a resident, have I not seen a consultation regarding the proposed changes to the road layout in what is already a very busy area at rush hour and gridlock for much of peak shopping hours in late November, December and January? And why has there not been a consultation on the so-called country park? Flooding. Every year at some point we see the water meadows below the Army and Navy turn into one huge lake, sometimes for weeks, and on occasions that reaches right up into the proposed site. We see this just upstream where the pedestrian path into town goes under feet of water. I simply cannot understand the logic of building there, and I do wonder whether Stonebond Countrywide and the council have given full representation of what they're proposing to support and build to the public liability insurers. I cannot see how the proposed residents will get buildings and contents insurance, or insurance at a regular premium. And if the site does succeed in holding water at bay, logically that water will go somewhere else. With it all underwater, I see no way of storing it out of the way. So mathematically, this tells me that it must increase flooding risk elsewhere. Now you might say this is de minimis in itself, but it is increased flooding impact 5,000 cuts. The Army and Navy development will similarly impact the water meadow capacity further. I know from speaking to a resident at Chaucer Road, and I think you'll see that in one of the plans later, that the bund there had no effect in holding the water back in the flood, and we've heard people talk of this. It just filled up behind and lapped right up to the top of the bricks behind their bund, and the brickwork being the last defence before flooding their road and property, a higher flood will breach it. I've seen the Army and Navy underwater, and my road, Beeley Link, in heavy rainfall, I have seen the road like a river, with water coming back up out the manholes, all flowing in the direction of the Fox and Raven and the site. We do need housing, and I am pro-house building. The population of the UK has gone from 50 million to 70 million in my lifetime, but not on the floodplain, surely. The Planning Council rejected it 8 against 1. I think there was 1 abstention. They got it because they are local. Many of the committee mentioned flooding, but I'll quote just 2. I realise Councillor Hall is now here. He said, quote, "I've lived in the area for 32 years, and I too have seen it, the site, flooded substantially." Unquote. Like me, he was also worried about surface water, quote, that runs off 2 major roads, and said, "We've already seen this on the other side with the gas main being replaced that has been delayed due to flooding." Councillor Dobson said, "I cannot remember an application that I am more unhappy with," and flooding. I won't dwell much on that because it has already been done. I've lived here for 30 years and I've seen the area, the site, myself flooded. So I have to ask, how is any resident going to get insurance for their buildings and contents? Or how much more is it going to cost? And where we are already talking about putting people in here that need affordable housing, how will they get that insurance on a floodplain? Further, how are the residents going to be able to afford to pay the maintenance charges, the service, the repair and maintenance costs in the long term for the upkeep of suds, bunds and other specialist arrangements attempting to keep the water out? This is not what I see as affordable housing. It all sounds very costly to me. All this is foreseeable, has been made clear to everyone, and sounds not unlike the extra costs later burdened on people for bad cladding design and build. Consultation. As a resident, am I and all the others in the area not entitled to take part in a consultation on the country park that I understand isn't in any local strategic plan? And am I not entitled to see a consultation along the traffic capacity cladding in an already dangerous and gridlocked location where there is a suggestion to close part of the carriageway and put in a crossing? In conclusion, as a resident, I don't understand why, after so many councillors at the committee stage spoke about multiple concerns about flooding and all the other matters, we find ourselves here. I also don't understand the link to a supposed country park. For the sake of the local residents, the wildlife, and any prospective residents on the site who may be lulled into purchasing a home on this floodplain, I would urge you to reject the appeal. Hopefully the photographs assist. To Stonebond and Countrywide, I would say this: do the right thing. I support the need for you to build houses, but regarding this particular site, I say hand it over to Essex Wildlife or the Wilderness Trust to score your biodiversity net gain points and get the kudos from supporting responsible development but elsewhere. Thank you very much for hearing my thoughts on the matter, because I know you have a lot to get through.